Every day, a voice follows you. It comments on your mistakes. It predicts what you'll say next. It argues with you. It judges you. But here's the unsettling question. Who is actually speaking? What if the voice inside your head isn't you at all? What if it's something that watches your experience, interprets it, and then reports it back to you? Today, we're exploring one of the strangest ideas in neuroscience and philosophy. The possibility that your inner monologue isn't your consciousness, but a separate process observing it. For most people, thinking feels obvious. You hear words in your head. You assume those words are your thoughts. End of story. But modern neuroscience paints a far stranger picture. Research suggests your brain often makes decisions before you're consciously aware of making them. Experiments have shown measurable brain activity occurring fractions of a second before participants report deciding to move. If that's true, then maybe consciousness isn't driving the process. Maybe it's receiving a report after the decision has already begun. And that raises an uncomfortable possibility. Perhaps the narrator in your mind isn't the decision maker. Perhaps it's the storyteller. Take a moment, without trying. Listen, there's probably a voice commenting on this video. Maybe it's agreeing. Maybe it's skeptical. Maybe it's wondering where this argument is going. Now ask yourself something simple. If you're listening to that voice, who is doing the listening? If the voice can be observed, can it really be the observer? This question has puzzled philosophers for thousands of years. Many contemplative traditions distinguish between thoughts and awareness itself. Thoughts come and go. Awareness remains. Your brain is constantly processing enormous amounts of information, far more than your conscious mind could ever keep up with. To simplify reality, it builds a narrative, a continuous explanation of what's happening. That narrative often arrives as language. I chose this. I feel nervous. I shouldn't have said that. But neuroscience suggests these explanations aren't always perfectly accurate. Sometimes your brain creates reasons after the fact. In other words, the narrator may be explaining decisions it never actually made. It's less like a CEO giving orders, and more like a press secretary explaining what already happened. This idea becomes even stranger when we look at certain neurological conditions. In rare split-brain patients, where the connection between the brain's hemispheres has been surgically severed, researchers observed something astonishing. One hemisphere could perform actions without the language-dominant hemisphere knowing why. Yet, when asked for an explanation, the speaking hemisphere confidently invented one. Not because it was lying, because it genuinely believed its own story. The mind seemed compelled to explain actions, even when it lacked the true cause. This suggests the inner narrator may be reconstructing reality more often than we realize. Imagine consciousness as a movie theater. Experiences appear on the screen. Thoughts are part of the movie. Emotions are part of the movie. Even the voice saying, "This is me," is just another scene. But someone is watching. That silent awareness doesn't speak. It doesn't judge. It simply knows experience is happening. Some philosophers argue this witnessing awareness is consciousness itself. The internal monologue is merely one object appearing within it. Think about your next thought. Don't choose it. Just wait. Notice what appears. Did you create it? Or did it simply arrive? Most thoughts emerge automatically. You don't consciously manufacture every sentence in your head. They appear. Then another part of your mind claims ownership. This doesn't prove the inner voice is a separate conscious being, but it suggests the feeling of authorship may be more complex than it seems. Here's where speculation begins. Some philosophers have proposed that different systems in the brain possess limited forms of awareness. Others argue consciousness emerges only from the whole brain working together. There is currently no scientific evidence that your internal monologue is an independent conscious entity with its own separate mind. However, it may function like a specialized subsystem, one that observes, predicts, evaluates, and narrates your experiences. In that sense, it can feel almost like another person living inside your head. Not because it literally is, but because your brain is composed of many interacting systems operating simultaneously. Perhaps the most fascinating possibility isn't that there's another person inside your mind. It's that the self you've always identified with is only one process among many. The narrator, the planner, the emotional system, the memory system, the observer. Together, they create the experience we simply call I. So tonight, when that familiar voice begins narrating your thoughts, don't immediately assume it's you. Instead, ask a quieter question.